Hello my bookworms, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a reading vlog in which I give authors a second chance. Sometimes you read a book and you just don't vibe with it, whether it is the writing, it is the plot, it is the plot twists. There are so many ways that a book just might not work for someone, and today I want to see that if I read a book from authors where I previously did not like their other work, if it was just a singular book scenario or if I just might not vibe with how they tell their stories. So that being said, grab a drink, grab a snack, we are going to settle in and see how I find these second chance authors.
Hello, welcome to this vlog. I'm so excited to be doing secret TBR vlogs again. These, as well as challenge vlogs, are two of my favorite things to do. I just get really excited to execute and then see it all come together. And as you know, today is a second chance author vlog. I went to the library today to acquire said reads. I was thinking that I was going to be way more nervous going into this vlog because obviously I hadn't liked other books by these authors. So naturally I would be worried to pick up another book by them, which in the past I have been, but now that I actually have the books in my hands, I'm actually really excited to get into them. So best case scenario for these authors. At this point in time, I have already read The Only One Left by Rylee Sager because it was my last month's book club. So the first book of the vlog will be The Only One Left since I back filmed it back when I had to read it for my book club. So this one I already owned, but I also picked up CJ Tudor's The Walkman, The Chalkman, as well as Billy Summers by Stephen King and The Crane Husband by Kelly Barnhill. I will be going into each author's separately once it's time to read their respective books, but I kind of just felt like coming on and chatting with you guys really quickly and just kind of showing what's to come in the vlog. Mostly because I'm feeling great. And let me tell you why. So if you notice in the B-roll, I drank a little green thing that looked like this. This is called Magic Mind. Isn't this just the cutest thing you've ever seen, first and foremost? I genuinely wasn't even planning on coming on here today to do this because I just finished filming and talking for 2 hours about like fall book recommendations, which is the video that was out before this one, so I'll link it down below. And normally after filming for even an hour, I'm like exhausted. I'm like completely done. I'm ready to turn off the camera and take my makeup off like immediately and then just go full slug mode for the rest of the night. But I actually drank one of these as an afternoon pick-me-up before I started filming and I feel so good. I read on Magic Mind's website that it's not supposed to make you feel like jittery or like caffeinated, but it's more of like a focused and dialed in sort of feeling. And it's actually kind of wild how much I agree with that. Like I've taken little like wellness shots or things like that in the past, but they don't come close to how this feels. Like I also am really excited to continue taking it because they talk about how the more regularly that you take it, the more the benefits will develop and show. And again, like I wasn't even going to talk about it today, but if this is how I feel on the first time, like I actually am really excited to see how it continues. So as this vlog progresses, minus the Rylee Sager portion of the video because I hadn't had this yet, I'll keep you updated. If you're wondering what's in it really quick, these are meant to be drank either alongside your morning coffee or in place of your morning coffee if you're really sensitive to caffeine. And it has things in it like matcha, turmeric, lion's mane, and ashwagandha, among many others that will help with your energy, your focus, as well as your stress levels. I will have a link down below if you want to check it out, but also I will continue to talk about it a little bit throughout the vlog and give you more like real-time updates, you know what I'm saying? But in the meantime, let's jump into the first book of this vlog. Hello, welcome. First book of this vlog is The Only One Left by Rylee Sager. The book that I previously read by this man was Home Before Dark, which is a crowd favorite. Everyone seems to love that book. I actually did not like it. A couple things didn't work for me with Home Before Dark. I did not like the final plot twist. It bothers me to this day when I think about it. And I've talked about it quite a few times and I won't explain exactly why I don't like it because it's kind of a spoiler. But another thing that I didn't like was whoever narrated it would change their voice when there was a female talking and made it kind of like high-pitched and a little bit whiny, and it was just really annoying to listen to. So that definitely brought down my enjoyment of the story as well. So some of the things that I didn't like about the story was kind of the, I don't know, aesthetics for lack of a better word, because I didn't have a good time listening to it. So that I think is something that is a variable that can be changed. So I'm hoping that while listening to The Only One Left and reading it with my eyeballs during this time around while trying Rylee Sager out, I have a better experience on that front. And Home Before Dark, though I enjoyed the writing, writing, again, the plot twist was just not how I like my haunted house stories to go. I will leave it at that. So, and the synopsis about only one left really seems like it could be a winner for me. So I have high hopes for this one, actually, and I'm excited to get into it today. I am probably like 20 pages in right now. So far, I can tell you that the audiobook narrator I am enjoying. It's early days, but so far it's okay. And what I'm gathering right now is we have our main character. Her name is Kit, and she is a home health aide who is being assigned to work for Lenora Hope, who was never found guilty, but was the only person who survived the night that her family and sister got murdered. And everyone believes it to be Lenora Hope, and there's like this schoolyard chant about her that has been, you know, around since it happened. It's at 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope, stabbed her father with a knife, took her mother's happy life, and it's just kind of like delightfully creepy. And now, like I said, Kit is being assigned to care for Lenora Hope because I think it said that she had multiple strokes or something and needs full-time care. So Kit is going to move into the house that is on the cliffs on this coast of Maine, which I love Maine. So she's going to live with her, and eventually it's told in the synopsis that Lenora wants to like tell her side of the story finally because she, you know, never has. And we're gonna see what she has to say and if we can trust her and that sort of thing. So the setup seems really solid. And again, I'm enjoying it for the first 20 pages that I have read. So this second chance author feel like should go well, but again, early days, we will see how it goes. Welcome to the vlog. So happy to have you. Let's commence this journey.
Hello, it's just me, Sydney, my worms.
Wait, what vlog am I updating? I got too many projects going on.
No feeling.
This is second chance author. Ready?
Is that worm?
So I have been sitting reading. I made it to page 225, and I will be the first to say that as long as Mr. Rylee Sager doesn't butcher the final twist like he did for me in Home Before Dark, then he has definitely redeemed himself in my eyes, because this book is really solid. I'm having a really, really good time reading it. I was sitting for probably two and a half hours reading, and that's how far I got, and it did not feel like I was reading for that long. I feel like that is a really good telltale sign for me, at least, that I'm enjoying a book where time actually does fly, and you slowly start to feel the book getting thicker in your left hand than your right hand, you know? That's a really, really great feeling. I love that. But the story itself is really, really fast paced. Like, we're getting point of views from our main character, who is the caretaker of Lenora Hope, and then we're also getting the point of view of Lenora Hope herself as she's like typing her sort of like confessional, or just her side of the story, because we don't know if she's like confessing or not, because obviously we're not to the end of the book. It genuinely feels right now like it can go so many different ways. There are so many suspects in my mind, some obviously more so than others, but right now it's like sitting where I genuinely think that I will be surprised no matter what happens, and I'm really excited to keep reading it, which I'm so glad that it's going this way, because I've been nervous. I've been nervous to give him another shot, and right now it's going really well. So I will come back again once the book is finally finished and give my final verdict on whether I will continue to try Rylee Sager's other books as well. So I have finished The Only One Left by Rylee Sager, and I'm here to give you my final thoughts. Earlier today, I actually had the book club meeting with my patrons for this book, which was last month's pick. And then like 2 hours later, we had a movie night with Red, White, and Royal Blue, which was so fun. And now I have to rewire my brain to come back to this story right now. I will say right off the bat, Rylee Sager, he's redeemed, man. I had a really good time with this book. I have heard some pretty overwhelmingly positive reviews about this one, how he's like, he's at his best and things like that. So I think that this was a good one for me to choose, because I had a great time. What was funny to me during my book club chat, a lot of people rated this 4 or 4.5 stars because there were so many plot twists within this story that sometimes it got a little bit confusing. Like, I'm a very visual person, and I feel like I would have to physically write out who people are, what their motivations were, when things happened, what the plot twists were. I need one of those like murder boards, but only character and plot twist board for this book, because there actually was a lot going on. And not only did he do that, he also weaved? He weaved in all of this amazing eerie atmosphere, and the setting was perfect. Chef's kiss. I love Maine. I love rocky coasts. I love weird gothic mansions on top of a cliff that this house is literally falling apart and falling off the cliff as we speak. There were so many little details that were mentioned that made me really appreciate it even more. So yeah, I mean, I really haven't had a reading experience like this, especially with a thriller, in a very long time. So it was really refreshing. It was super fun. Ultimately, I ended up giving this one a 4.5 stars. I'm not entirely sure if I want to rate it a 4 or a 5 on Goodreads. At the end of my book club, I did say I think that I would rate it a 4, but in my heart it's a 4.5. And Rylee Sager is redeemed. I think this second chance author definitely was worth it, and I will try other books by him with less hesitant eyes. So yeah, book 1 done. Next time you see me, I will hopefully be looking better and introducing the second book.
On this vlog is The Crane Husband by Kelly Barnhill. It is a short little bite-sized bit of a story, and I have already finished it, so let's discuss, shall we? The previous book that I read by Kelly Barnhill was When Women Were Dragons, and I ended up giving it, I think, like a 2.5, give or take. And the things that I remember thinking while reading When Women Were Dragons was that it read a little bit young, and I did not like how the dragons were depicted in the story. I just like my dragons written a different way, and it just felt a little bit too cutesy for me. And you know, it's just my opinion. So now doing this vlog, I knew that Kelly Barnhill was an author that I wanted to include because I didn't think that her writing was bad. I felt like I had a high chance of enjoying something else that she wrote because her imagery was great. I just didn't like the final execution of the story, which is fine. And she has quite a few other books. I wasn't sure if The Crane Husband was going to be the right choice for me because it is one of her less known books. It only has like 4,000 reviews on Goodreads, while another story of hers, The Girl Who Drank the Moon, has almost 92,000. And so, you know, this was a gamble even from the beginning of choosing the author, but even more of a gamble choosing one of her less popular stories. Hold on, Abby is re-cozying up. There we go. And it's really interesting because I can definitely tell that it's the same author that wrote this book. It felt very familiar. And I will tell you right now, I am not only so happy that I decided to give this author another shot, I am so happy that I chose this book instead of anything else. Maybe The Girl Who Drank the Moon would be a better option for a lot of people, but this book was the right option for me. It reminded me of Night Bitch mixed with Starling House, and the former is one of my favorite books, and the latter is a book that I read recently and really enjoyed. So if you know either of those two books or enjoyed one of those two books, then I think that you might have a good shot at liking this one too. It's weird, and the magical realism within the story is absolutely incredible. The main character is phenomenal, and in order to read and really enjoy this type of story, you must be able to have a little bit of like suspension of disbelief. But man, like I feel happiness in my heart. Like I feel so happy that I read this book. And that doesn't happen all the time, you know? I will be purchasing a copy of this book so I can own it. I had no idea that I was going to feel this way. In the story, our main character is a 15-year-old girl who has a younger brother named Michael and her mother who is an artist. And they live very simply, stretching their ingredients to last as long as they can, utilizing everything they can in their arsenal on their farmland to, you know, get by. And one day her mom brings home a crane, and thus begins the story of the crane husband. And I obviously don't want to allude to anything that you find out during the story because it is so short. Her mother basically abandons everything and submits herself to the crane and kind of becomes a little bit of a recluse within her own life and puts all of her literal being into the tapestry that she is weaving that the crane is demanding. While our main character is taking care of her younger brother Michael, doing everything she can to evade the social services and, you know, keep the household going. And it was written so well. I'm shocked at how much I loved this book and the intense emotion and atmosphere that was able to be written in a book that was literally only 118 pages. Like, I really think it's wild how much I feel for these characters, and the story did feel short, but it felt so full at the same time, and I don't know how else to explain it. The ending is a little bit vague, and though I do understand that, I would have liked a little bit more in the ending. I don't love how our characters ended up, but that doesn't mean it's a bad story. It could just mean that it's a little bit more realistic, but I freaking loved it. Not only will this be a book that I recommend, but it'll be a book that will for sure be on my most surprising of the year. I'm shocked. shocked and awed. And that is book number 2 done for this vlog. And so far, both authors are redeemed. Rylee Sager and Kelly Barnhill both have my business again. Wow, I can't believe it. Okay, wow, what a time to be alive. I feel so great. That also was my 75th book of the year, which completed my Goodreads goal. I was real nervous that the book that made me hit my Goodreads goal was going to be not good because I wasn't sure how I was gonna find this one, but ended up being one of my favorites. So wow, what a time to be alive, am I right? Now it is noon 30 on Monday and I'm just reading for the day. I think what I'm going to do is get a little bit into Billy Summers by Stephen King, and I'll probably exercise at some point and shower, but this is really my only plan for the day other than probably playing my Switch because I downloaded Cozy Grove and I started it last night and I'm really enjoying it. I also have Skyrim now and obviously Animal Crossing. I play that all the time. But yeah, next on the list for this vlog is Stephen King. I'm really nervous, but really excited because I do think that he has writing that obviously is not only world renowned, but a certain style that I know that I could enjoy. So I'm excited to try out Billy Summers, which I think is more of a like true crime fiction sort of vibe and not exactly like the book I previously read by him, which is Misery. So let's get into it. Hello. I've made it to page 161, so I'm about yay far, and I have a good grip on like what's going on. So this story is surrounding our main character, Billy Summers, who is basically like a hitman. I think he's an ex-Marine, is what I'm gathering at least. And this is a story of like his last job before he retires. But he's not like every other hitman. He's like a Dexter hitman basically, and he like cares if the person that he's going after is a bad guy or a good guy, and he only kills bad guys. That sort of vibe, you know? And so far I'm kind of torn on it. Like, by no means am I bored. I'm actually quite gripped, and I'm not entirely sure why. So far we followed Billy as he is learning about the job, setting up for the job, taking on his new identity, and like the plan for the whole assassination and the getaway and things like that. And it's a pretty interesting setup so far because Billy's cover's name is Dave, who is an aspiring writer, and he has a house out in the boonies somewhere, but is also renting a office space where the assassination will actually take place. And that's where he's like writing his novel, where it gets a little heady here because not only is Billy pretending to be Dave, but the people who are hiring him to assassinate this person think that Billy is much less intelligent than he really is. So he has to also pretend to be not as aware of everything as he really is. So while he is masquerading as a writer, he is actually writing a little bit of his actual story, but he has to like dumb it down a little bit. So we're following a little sub-story of learning about Billy Summers' actual life as he grew up, which is actually quite sad and awful. And we're learning that Billy Summers as a person is normally very good at like making connections with people without getting too close, but this last job, of course, the last job is always different. And he's actually getting close with like the neighbors and the people within the office building, not to mention a few people in another location that I'll just leave that as that is because I'm avoiding all spoilers. But for whatever reason, he's not finding it possible to just kind of fly under the radar as good as he normally does. So I think that as their relationships continue to progress and as the story continues to progress, it's gonna get a little messy. And I'm definitely here along for the ride. I think the more I read it, the more I'll feel a little bit more hooked. But so far I'm just feeling okay about it, which is the least I could hope for. You know, I'm enjoying my time, but I'm hoping I start to enjoy it even more, is kind of how I'm feeling right now at the 161 page mark. But that being said, I'm gonna do a little bit of exercise. I'm not feeling great thanks to my ovaries, but I'm gonna move my body a little bit and then shower and get cozy for the evening. But I will come back with updates when I have them. Billy Summers.
Summers by Stephen King. And it just got really dark. Lighten up, lighten up. There we go. Hello. First and foremost, I don't know if I actually mentioned what the previous book was that I read by Stephen King, and it was Misery. I gave that book a 2. I did not like how it made me feel. I did not like a lot of things about that book. Now, a counter argument to myself is maybe it made you feel that way and that was what it was going out to do, so it did that, so it was actually a really well written and well done book, and like that's all well and good, but I rate a lot on enjoyment, and when I finished that book I was literally so excited that I never had to read it again. But I did think that he would be a good contender for this vlog because there were moments in that book where I was like, oh, I really like how he described that, or something along those lines. So we're here and we read Billy Summers. In my last update I kind of mentioned that it was going well. It was good. I wasn't super excited, but I wasn't bored either, and that's kind of how I felt throughout the whole entire thing. To put it simply, I feel about the book. Our main character is hired to do this last hit, and then he's like gonna retire forever. And the actual job that he was completing was done before the like midway part of the book. So a lot of it was actually also the aftermath and other little situations that he found himself in, which I'm not mad about because I do feel like that first job was given the appropriate amount of time to tell that part of the story. But like, okay, I don't know if it's because I had a hard time believing the things that were unfolding within the story, or if the writing just wasn't working for me, but it felt like the whole book was kind of like one note. There wasn't any point where I was contemplating DNFing, but there also wasn't a point where I couldn't wait to sit back down and continue reading the book. The storytelling was really good. I did really enjoy the parts where our main character is writing like a memoir, basically, a story about his life. And he's an ex-Marine, so we're getting flashbacks of when he was actually, you know, deployed. And those parts of the stories were the most real and the most well written out of anything else, which is great, you know, but I wanted to feel like that throughout the whole story and not just little snippets and like 5-page increments, you know? And I honestly kind of thought that this book was going to be a winner for me. I know a lot of big booktubers that I follow that really enjoy watching that read this book and really liked it. Plus it had fewer trigger warnings than a lot of his other books do, which please do check trigger warnings for this book if you want to pick it up because there is some gnarly shit that goes on. But again, I thought that this book was going to be a winner and I'm not entirely sure why everyone loves it. Other than the fact that he wrote his characters really well. Like, I felt like I really knew Billy Summers, and I felt like I really knew another main character that we meet later, and her name is Alice. But again, like, there are things about the story that I just couldn't believe. So my enjoyment went down because I was just questioning, like, I really don't see this happening. And I know it's like a work of fiction and, you know, nothing has to be completely real, but like, it's not like this is a magical realism book, you know, where you just have to accept and blah, blah, blah. I just did not believe the scenarios that were being written. And now I'm just kind of wildly unsure if Stephen King is a writer that I like or not, because I gave Misery 2 and I'm gonna give Billy Summers a 3 or 3.5, which is still good. It's not a bad rating, but it is sort of just like middle of the road. So in the question of whether Stephen King is redeemed in my eyes or not, jury is still out on that one. I am wildly unsure. I feel like I will pick up another Stephen King at some point in the future. Like, I am interested in reading The Shining because I love a haunted house story and I, again, feel like I could enjoy it. Maybe I should have picked that one to begin with. So I might pick up that one again, maybe in another edition of this sort of vlog series in the future. But yeah, I don't know. It was just okay. But that being said, we are going to be going into the last final book of this vlog, which is, let me go get it. The Chalk Man by CJ Tudor. I'll tell you more about this one once I actually get into it. I am going to make a latte and then sit down and start immediately. The book I read previously by CJ Tudor was The Other People. And I remember reading The Other People and thinking going into it that the synopsis sounded right up my alley and I was really excited to read it. Really excited to participate in the Literally Dead book club because that was the first book that I read with Kayla. Was that her first book of her book club? Why do I feel like it was? Regardless, read it with her book club. And I remember thinking at the end of the book that it just felt too much. Like, if CJ Tudor omitted some of the themes that she was trying to do and expanded on others, it would have been so much more solid, but it just felt like there was too much going on and too much to look at. So I ended up giving that one, I think, like a 2.5 or a 3. It was so long ago, but I haven't read from her since because I've been nervous. But we are going to be picking up The Chalk Man, which is her first novel and kind of like critically acclaimed as one of her best from what I could gather. So this is what we're gonna pick up and it sounds delightfully creepy and nerve-wracking. So gonna make this latte, then we'll sit down and read and I'll come back later. over halfway through The Chalkman by CJ Tudor, and I am having such a great time. I'm really excited that this book is going so well. The biggest thing that I want to give this book kudos for is the writing. Like, CJ Tudor's writing is really, really phenomenal. At least it is in this book. The way that she's writing not only the plot and how it's unfolding, but also just like little tidbits, little extra sentences that are just being used to further explain or describe a situation. And I feel like a lot of writers might omit certain sentences that she's writing. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this justice, but hello? The best that I can say is that I'm really loving how she's writing the story, and it's really drawing me in, making me fully present while reading it. And right now in the story, we're not even fully to the main like plot, I guess, because the prologue at the very beginning of the story is surrounding a different situation than what we've been following so far. So the prologue talks about how a couple people, or at least one person, finds a girl's body in the woods, right? Okay, which I have theories about, even though we don't know anything about that yet. Once that prologue was over, that like 2-page prologue, then the story actually starts, and things have happened. Don't get me wrong. A lot has happened in the first half of the book. Like a lot has been going on, but we know nothing about what was happening in that prologue yet. So I know that it's about to get a little bit crazy, and the latter half of the book will just continue to unravel a lot. But I just stopped at a chapter where one of the first major plot twists just happened, and I felt my jaw go slack. I was a little bit taken aback by what I found out, and I was like, perfect moment to come update. Because now I definitely have read enough to have first thoughts and am excited to continue. The story is written in dual timelines, so we're following our main character Eddie in 1986 when he and his little found family group of friends are growing up and, you know, being little misfit teenagers, and eventually they go through a couple tragic situations. And then our other timeline is in 2016, and Eddie is a grown man working as a teacher, and now as adults he and his friends are getting letters with no return addresses and only has like a stick figure drawing and a piece of chalk, which is very telltale of what happened when they were kids. And now things are starting to happen and I'm so excited to continue reading. I genuinely am having a really good time reading this story, so try to finish it tonight. I'll probably update you tomorrow morning and we'll see how it actually goes, kind of close out the vlog and go on from there. Finished The Chalkman by CJ Tudor, the final book of this vlog. I'm appalled at how good this vlog has gone. Like, this book is phenomenal. This book was so good. Like, I think like 5 out of 5. It's a 5-star book. I think out of all of the books that I read for this vlog, this author, CJ Tudor, will be the top author that I will read from again. And then Rylee Sager, and then Kelly Barnhill, and then Stephen King is kind of how I feel. Because yes, this story was plotted perfectly. The reveals were great, but the writing itself is what I enjoyed the most. I'm so happy that I read from this author again because I, again, really didn't like the other people. But yeah, I didn't really have anything planned to say for this wrap up. I just finished the book and wanted to film the last clip before I ended it for you guys. But honestly, this book had the perfect level of everything. I really liked that we learned what was to come in the prologue, but then we didn't visit that problem for like half the book, and we were dealing with other problems leading up to it. So there were multiple things going on that our characters were having to go through, and all of the people that we met in the first half of the book were so vital to the latter half of the book while they were dealing with the other problems at hand. The characters were unreliable. A lot of them were creepy and eerie. There was a touch of grizzle, dare I say. And I feel like it was a very good book. Would recommend. I definitely could have read this in one sitting. It's actually pretty short and 100% had my attention 100% of the time. So if you enjoy a good thriller and you have not yet picked up The Chalkman by CJ Tudor, I do highly recommend this one. And I'm so stinking happy with how good this vlog has gone. Again, I'm shocked and awed. And really quick, before I go over like all the books together, kind of wanted to touch back on Magic Mind again. So I fully stand by what I said in the very beginning of this vlog. I definitely think that it has potential to help me reduce my caffeine intake and either replace my afternoon coffee with Magic Mind or drink less of an afternoon coffee and drink that in conjunction, because I 100% feel a difference when I have Magic Mind in a very non-jittery focused sort of way. Like, it's really crazy and I'm super impressed with it. And
also it tastes really great. It says subtly sweet on the bottle, and it's exactly subtly sweet. If you do try it, make sure that you shake it up because the matcha and the things will settle at the bottom, so you gotta like mix it up to make sure you get all of the goodness. But yeah, I specifically have not had it every single day of this vlog because I wanted to see how I felt the days that I wasn't drinking it in comparison to the days that I was. And again, I honestly felt my mind was sharper. I was able to focus for longer. I mean, heck, I read 4 books this week, and one of them, Billy Summers, was a really big book. So I feel pretty good. I feel great about it. Thank you again to Magic Mind for sponsoring this video. I think that I could consider this one of my favorite thrillers ever now, as well as The Crane Husband. I really, wow, loved that one. And the only one left was super solid as well. Billy Summers is okay, which none of this is what I expected. Hold on, let me get the books. This is how I thought that I was going to like the books in rankings of favorite to least favorite. This is how I thought it was going to go, but actually it's going to be more like this, which is really crazy. Like almost the exact opposite. That's super interesting. And I, again, am so happy with this vlog and how it went. So yeah, I'd be really interested to know how you thought my final ratings were going to be, if this is kind of what you were expecting, or if you're surprised I liked this particular one, and how you found some of these books if you have read them in the past. But that is the end of the vlog. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me for a little bit. If you don't know what to say or have no opinions on these books, then leave the crane or a bird emoji down below in the comments. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I always appreciate your support. And of course, be kind to one another and happy reading.